Three or four armed gunmen in camouflage stormed the building and immediately opened fire. There were really gruesome scenes of them shooting at people point blank. And it's also believed that they set off a grenade or some kind of incendiary device that set the building on fire.
Now, at least 60 people are dead and more than 100 wounded after gunmen opened fire at a concert venue in a suburb of Moscow. The Islamic State group says it carried out the attack, which officials in the US describe as credible. Let's speak to Samantha Berkhead, editor-in-chief of the Moscow Times, an independent news site based outside Russia. Samantha, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Can you help us, first of all, understand where this happened?
Yeah, so this is at Crocus City Hall, which is a pretty popular music venue for live events, just outside Moscow, about 16 kilometers from the city center. And yeah, a lot of major acts perform there. It's got a capacity of about 6,200 people.
Okay. And what do we know about what happened?
Yeah, so three or four armed gunmen in camouflage stormed the building and immediately opened fire. There were really gruesome scenes of them shooting at people point blank. And it's also believed that they set off a grenade or some kind of incendiary device that set the building on fire.
When the US says that the Islamic State group claim of responsibility is credible, what more can you explain to us, Samantha, about the security situation in Russia? And I suppose what might make Russia a target to the Islamic State or for the Islamic State group?
I think a lot of people have pointed to the fact that Russia remains involved in the Syrian civil war, and it's carried out many strikes that have killed civilians and Islamic State fighters there. Um, and, you know, I don't know if this is connected necessarily, but it has been developing its ties with Hamas, for example, in the Israel Gaza war. So there could be a number of reasons for its justification.
Mm. In terms of Russia's response, we're yet to hear from Putin, but I would also like to understand I suppose, the immediate response from the FSB and the communication on this, and indeed the investigation, which I believe is still ongoing, in that the FSB thinks there may be further perpetrators who may have escaped.
Yeah, so the shocking thing about last night was even 2 hours after the news broke, the only information we had was that law enforcement was at the scene. They gave us really no updates on how the effort was going and how the effort to catch the perpetrators was going. And as of this morning, we only know that, according to unconfirmed reports, that two people were detained near the Ukrainian border who are believed to have been involved. But otherwise, the perpetrators remain at large.
Have we had official statements from any member of Putin's regime or indeed from the security services? What is the latest kind of official line, I suppose?
Yeah, so it's very ununified. Former President Dmitry Medvedev has vowed to retaliate if Ukraine is found responsible for the attack. The foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has just called it a bloody terrorist attack and also just vowed to retaliate against whoever is responsible. Otherwise, it's been very quiet. Some senators and lawmakers have variously blamed Western special services for a years long campaign against Russia that caused this, which is also kind of concerning.
Yeah. Just what you say there about the potential retaliation from Russia, then, and one analyst that I was reading earlier, despite this claim from the Islamic State group and the US saying that is credible, this analyst was suggesting, well, actually, this is about who Moscow decides to blame and therefore what action they then take. Do you think there is a risk that this could escalate, that blame could be placed or misplaced in order to sort of achieve something of an objective of Russia?
Absolutely. Because this attack immediately reminds one of the apartment bombings in Moscow and the theater siege hostage of 2002 that were basically used by Russia to escalate the Chechen war. So Moscow could easily do the same here and use this as reason to escalate the situation in Ukraine or take wider action against the West, as well as increase repression and crackdown domestically.
Samantha, thank you very much. Good to speak to you this morning. That's Samantha Berkhead, editor-in-chief of the Moscow Times. We'll keep an eye on that story, which is really still developing, it has to be said, because we're still awaiting a kind of official Russian response. So investigations and indeed the response ongoing in terms of retaliation. We'll hear from a security analyst a little bit later on in the programme as well, just to get more of an understanding of what has happened here.
У меня нет слов, но мы все ждем справедливого возмездия.
Почтить память погибших, которые в терроризме пострадали. Это невыносимое что-то. Я думаю, что всех найдут и сделают все правильно.